It's still December 20th, 2011. My previous video, I'll just consider this part 2 of my previous video, Christmas talks about hypocrites everywhere. So while I was putting tags on there, I noticed the word journalism. You know, journalism isn't what it used to be. Journalism wasn't controlled. George Washington, it is said, died in his sleep. One of the things he was greatly bothered about was how journalists treated him and what the things they said about him and all that. But that's what you get when you have a free press. Did you know the Founding Fathers were primarily drunks? John Hancock was the biggest one. Signature is the biggest on the Declaration of Independence and then, you know, Constitution. He owned a winery. Most of the Founding Fathers drank. And they drank because water, they didn't know about boiling water. So a lot of them got dysentery, got waterborne illnesses, all kinds of stuff, of which they even got sicker because at that time, well-practiced medicine was bleeding someone, cutting somebody open and bleeding them. So if you went back in time, you'd ask for them to look at their arms, and they'd have scars on their arms from being bled. How many times they got sick. Anyway, so you've heard all these rant and raves, you know, you've heard my anger. I mentioned about disabilities, that if a person really was disabled. Oh, brother, that has to happen right now? Damn. I have to start all over again. Oh, no, maybe I don't. All right. It was only a few seconds. Sorry for the disruption. Anyway, if you go back, like I said, before criticizing me, go see the water being tape. Go see, remember, I have multiple backgrounds in all kinds of sciences. Biology, astronomy, nuclear physics, subatomic physics. You go back, you'll find that I have a lot in this head of mine. And it ain't mush. When you go and you listen to that, like I said, before you judge me, go check those 5 things I told you. Well, there is a 6, and I'll mention that now. Remember, I said go check Dr. Emoto's website to prove that something alive is on this planet manipulating us. It is not a friend. Sometimes that's a friend, sometimes it's not. And you have to be able to be sharp enough to judge when it's being your friend. Sometimes when it's your friend, it's manipulating you to get an extended future outcome. This being is extremely intelligent. It reacts in a way that interprets every language on the planet. Yeah, it does. And go to Dr. Emoto's website. That's E-M-O-T-O. The computer will correct it for you anyway. Then go to the saltwater tank experiments at Jacques Cousteau, where he takes 1 cup of real seawater and puts it in a artificial seawater tank where fish are dying, and all of a sudden they stop dying when he adds that 1 cup of seawater. Go to the clam experiments, okay, where they take clams from the eastern seaboard and put them in a university and raise the tides up and down, and the clams don't respond after a month to the regular cycle as they would if they were on the East Coast. Check out the holographic universe, the experiment they did, along with the movie What the Bleep. You have to see both of them together. When you read anything about the holographic universe and entanglement, and what happens when you do one thing to one electron, the other electron, no matter how far apart it's spread, reacts instantly in less than a nanosecond. So once you start putting these puzzles together, okay, you begin seeing a pattern that there's a manipulation taking place in this universe and on this planet and on all planets everywhere that is far beyond your comprehensions. But I bet that if you look at all 5 of the things I mentioned in the other videos, you will be stunned. If you have any kind of an intelligent mind, you will be stunned. You will be impressed. You will also ask yourself, if this guy has managed to put this kind of puzzle piece together, Why is the media ignoring him? Because this is tantamount. This is shocking. This is worldwide shocking. This would have an effect. This kind of information would have an effect more than Einstein's E equals mc squared. Matter of fact, it would add to it. It might even add to the general theory of relativity along with the grand unified theory. It may be one of the keystones to getting to putting together the grand unified theory. But it doesn't matter how many words come out of my mouth. What's wrong here is treatment of people. People who supposedly live in a free country. This is not a free country. Not for me. Okay? This applies only to me. I'm not a felon. Okay? Never have been. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. Never have. Why is it I'm being so attacked? There's a reason. And the 5 things I tell you about, I only told you about 3 just now. I'm making you go listen to the tapes. If you don't want to, then you could go on living a nonchalant, ignorant life. At least ignorant about that particular stuff that you should not be ignorant about. So, once you see what I have put together, you will go, has my life been a lie? Whether I'm rich or poor, has my life part of some plan of some intelligent being that's been manipulating us through all the wars, through all the peace times, through all the bits and pieces of peace around the world? Has it been feeding off of us like in the Matrix? Remember what I told you about the DNA in one of my other videos? It's extremely long. It's extremely ancient. If you were to stretch out the DNA of a human being, it goes out 55, and you can quote me on this figure, 55 billion, 880 million miles long. That's right. 600 astronomical units long. Each person on the planet. And each person has 100 trillion, not billion, 100 trillion cells make up the adult human being. And babies and whatever. And those 100 trillion cells replace themselves every 7 years. According to that figure, the human lifespan is supposed to last about 350 years. What we're talking about today, 5 days before Christmas, and the day I released this information, which was on the day that Pearl Harbor was bombed. I also mentioned a Star Trek episode called The Day of the Dove. And other movies as well, Avatar. All of these movies are not just stories that pop into somebody's creative head. They weren't creative. Those stories were already there in bits and pieces. From ancestral knowledge, from all this other stuff. I don't have to sit here and be insulted by the very few people that ever watch these channels of all of my videos. Once you see all my videos, you begin to get to know me. You begin to get to know me. I'm a human being just like anyone else. I'm susceptible to being angry, crying, hurting, depression, situational depression in my case. Situational depression caused by your evil country. And I can't do anything about it. I don't have an army. But if I had an army, oh, Jesus, there would be so many changes. And it very well probably is very good that nobody listens to me, because if I did have an army, I'd put every politician in jail until I question every last one of them. I put every official that has ever worked for any city, anywhere. They'd all be in concentration camps, and it would probably take a few years to go through all of them and make them all take lie detector tests and ask every last one of them, have you taken bribes? Have you ever made a decision that hurt someone, even though the law said it was okay for you to do it? You didn't have second thoughts about it. You went ahead and did it? No. The only way we're going to become a truly evolved species is to get rid of all this idiocy. And these people that love taking advantage of our intelligence, whatever intelligence we have, our ability to make an honest individual choice. There's a difference from making an honest individual choice and one that's being manipulated. And that's what you do. If you don't believe me, I'm not the only one talking about this. George Carlin has one of his comedy tapes on YouTube. Go check every one out. On one of them, he tells the audience exactly who's controlling you, and the audience just thinks of it as another form of entertainment. Go see the movie Being There with Peter Sellers. This is what your humanity is all about. 1 minute you're giving peace and love and compassion to your family, and the next minute you're taking money and feeding it to a military that kills innocent women and children at the bequest of presidents, at the bequest of saying, go see 3 Days of the Condor. The last part where Cliff Robinson is talking to Robert Redford, and he says, Robert Redford tells him, I gave it all to, this is about oil. All this was about oil in Venezuela. You killed a bunch of people over oil. And he says he gave it to the New York Times. And Cliff Robinson says, you know, what are you going to do when we don't have oil, when we don't have gas for their cars, when we don't have, when they can't run they have brownouts? What do you do when people run out? They're not going to care about right or wrong. This is what Cliff Robinson says. They're just going to want us to go get it for them. And is that what you people want? Did you really want that war in Iraq? Did you really want? You could have stopped that war instantly by taking my advice 3 years ago. In 2009, when they were raping me of everything I had on my property over there, and you could have just said, let's take Caesar's advice. Let's take all our money out of the banks. Screw Obama. Screw what he says on TV. He's a puppet. He's a puppet for the Bilderberg. Tell your congressman, your senator, you're not going to give any more taxes to them. Screw them. We don't care if the country falls apart, because the country needs to fall apart and elect new leaders. Because these leaders aren't the ones that you want, trust me. They're bought and paid for by some global initiative that is out to control each and every last person. They've turned you into slaves. You're building invisible pyramids for the new pharaohs of our time. Cheops has not died. The pharaoh Cheops has not died. He's still alive, forcing all of us to build invisible pyramids of money, greed, selfishness. You're hypochondriacs looking for cures. You're not going to find it. I'm certainly not going to find it. So, 12 minutes into the video, being 5 days before Christmas, I have nothing to look forward to. I have one storage. I can't find somebody with a truck to help me empty it, so they'll probably put an overlock on it and auction that off as well, little at a time. The places I've been forced to make choices to go to that I never had to go to before. A little at a time, you're taking all my stuff. And when you're done, I will have nothing. You will reduce me to a person in a room twiddling my thumbs, where I will probably take my own life because you interfered in my plans, my goals, my alleged right to make my own decisions in an alleged free country. And it's either that or what? Go to some other country where I'll be pushed around as well? No. It isn't worth it. I'm ready to die. Because not enough people are going to listen to this video. Not enough are going to revolt against the United States. I'm not asking anybody to do anything violent. You don't have to. All you have to do is do what I told you. Stop paying taxes. I'm doing it the way Martin Luther King and Gandhi would have done it. Just non-cooperation. Don't cooperate with them. Stop. Yes, I know you need to eat. There's plenty of food everywhere. In America, people don't go hungry because they can't get food. They go hungry because they're not resourceful enough to look for food in the right places. That's why they go hungry. It's 14 minutes. I only got 1 minute left. I have to go see if I can find someone that's compassionate enough to loan me a truck or help me move my stuff, because no one's going to care. No one gives a hell about what happens to me. So I could tell you, this is why most people commit suicide. They really commit suicide because they realize, they finally come to the total realization, nobody cares except them, and I'm powerless. I can only do so much. I wasn't powerless before. I had all these things. I was ready to move out of Los Angeles. The very same city trapped me here with their own laws, their own contradictory laws, their vicious cycle laws. So cities are supposed to help people, not destroy people. And that's what you have done to me. And as far as family members, they're in the same boat I am. I don't. They can't help either because they can't help themselves either. They're in the same boat.